I'm going to walk through this TV and soundbar combo the way most of us do when we're on the fence, looking at the everyday experience, the hidden costs, and whether it actually solves the problems we have at home. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, the Samsung Q900F isn't just another 4K screen. It comes with an 11.1.4 channel sound system and a music frame that doubles as art when you're not watching movies. That combination raises a lot of questions. Will the speakers really fill a typical living room? Does the frame feel like a gimmick, or does it actually add value? And most importantly, am I paying for a set of features I'll use, or just a fancy marketing package? When I first set this up, the biggest hesitation was the sheer number of cables and the promise of smart ways to connect. Samsung markets the Q900F as a hub that should recognize phones, tablets, and game consoles without a hitch. In practice, the built-in Wi-Fi and Bluetooth worked as advertised for streaming Netflix and Apple AirPlay, but I ran into a minor snag with my older Bluetooth speaker that required a quick firmware update on the TV. Once that was done, the connection was seamless. For anyone who already lives in a Samsung ecosystem, say a Galaxy phone, a Galaxy Buds pair, and maybe a Samsung soundbar, the integration feels natural. If you're coming from a mixed brand environment, you'll likely spend a few minutes in the settings menu getting everything to play nicely, but it's not a deal breaker. The customizable design is one of those quiet strengths that only shows up once the TV is actually on the wall. The Q900F's frame can be swapped out for different colors and finishes, which means you can match it to your decor without the TV looking out of place. I tried the charcoal frame in a room with dark wood furniture and the TV blended in nicely, almost disappearing when you're not watching. The music frame is also a neat touch. It displays artwork or personal photos when the TV is off, and you can queue up playlists that play softly in the background. It's not a full-blown smart speaker, but for people who enjoy ambient music while cooking or entertaining, it's a convenient little extra. Now, the sound. Samsung's Q Symphony is the selling point. The TV's built-in speakers and the separate soundbar are supposed to work together, delivering a more nuanced audio landscape. The system also includes a MIC that calibrates the sound for your specific room dimensions. I ran a quick test by placing the TV in a rectangular living room with hardwood floors and a modest bookshelf. After the calibration, dialogue in a drama series was crystal clear, and the low-frequency effects in an action movie felt more anchored without being overwhelming. Dolby Atmos adds a sense of height. You'll notice the difference in scenes with rain or helicopter blades sweeping over you. The downside is that the bass, while tighter than a standard TV speaker, still relies heavily on the soundbar's rear drivers. In a larger open-plan space, you might feel the need to add a subwoofer for that cinema-level thump. One practical weakness that shows up after a few weeks is the remote. Samsung's remote is sleek but lacks dedicated buttons for the music frame, so you end up toggling between TV mode and music mode through the on-screen menu. It's a minor inconvenience, but if you plan to switch between watching and playing music often, you'll probably want to reprogram a spare button or use the Samsung SmartThings app on your phone. Another point to consider is the price. The Q900F sits at the higher end of the 65-inch market, largely because of the bundled sound system and frame. If you already own a decent soundbar, you might not need the extra speakers, making the package feel a bit overpriced. Conversely, if you were planning to buy a TV and a separate sound system anyway, the bundled price could represent a small saving compared to buying each component individually. So who should buy this? If you're a movie enthusiast who values an immersive audio experience without hunting down a separate soundbar, and you appreciate the aesthetic flexibility of a frame that can double as artwork, the Q900F is a strong contender. It also makes sense for households that already use Samsung devices, because the smart connectivity and Q Symphony work best when everything speaks the same language. On the other hand, if you're primarily a casual TV watcher, have a limited budget, or already own a high-quality sound system, you might be better off spending that money on a larger screen or a more feature-rich smart platform. The music frame, while nice, is not essential, so if you're not into that kind of ambient background, the extra cost may not be justified. In terms of long-term value, the real benefit comes from the synergy between the TV and the sound system. The calibrated audio makes a noticeable difference in everyday shows and movies, not just in the occasional blockbuster. The frame adds a subtle personal touch that can actually increase